Keir Starmer needs to change his advisors in number 10. I think he's being badly advised and he's been really let down, particularly on this decision. I mean, I know in politics we really rely on people to sort of cover our backs, our advisors. And I think they patently haven't done this with Peter Mandelson. And I think so we need a bit of a clear out, really, in
Right.
number 10.
So that would mean Morgan McSweeney, his chief of staff, would go.
I think so. Yes, I think as a chief of staff, I think if my chief of staff had done this, I think he'd be looking for another job, to be honest. So I do think we need a change, and I also really think we need to investigate exactly what was known about this. So on Wednesday, for example, many of us went to our whip saying we can't vote for the government amendment as it stood, and so I was delighted in the end that the Intelligence and Scrutiny Committee is going to look at everything in a balanced and non-partisan way.
Isn't the problem with your solution, though, getting rid of Morgan McSweeney, and you're not alone in wanting to do that on the Labour backbenches, isn't the problem with that Keir Starmer himself, if he's going to lance the boil, as it were, has got to take some of the responsibility himself for the decision that was, in the end, a decision that he made to send Peter Mandelson to Washington, and that nothing else really will do?
Well, I think we need to know what the details were and how much they did know. We know what they knew, and I think it's good.
Just on that, though. Sorry to interrupt, but just on that, I mean, it was known that Peter Mandelson had been a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. It had also been widely reported that he'd stayed in Jeffrey Epstein's house in New York while Epstein was in jail. There were also warnings, for instance, from Maurice Glassman, the Labour peer who'd been at the inauguration, who reported back to number 10 that people there were concerned. So there were plenty of warnings there. Isn't it simply a fact that Sir Keir chose not to heed those warnings?
Well, I can't answer for him, and I don't know what Peter Mandelson said to him, etc. I think that we'll have to consider that, but I do think that on the face of it, really, he's been very poorly advised, and I think that Peter Mandelson was brought into the government and was consulted widely. In fact, I was invited to go and see him in 2022, and I've just become a candidate. He's not someone that I think he's one of the worst parts of the Blair administration. I didn't really understand why he was being brought back in. But no, to answer that, I think Keir may have things to answer, but I think mainly he's been very poorly advised. And at the time of the appointment, many even Tory MPs or ex-Tory MPs like Michael Gove thought it was a good appointment, etc. But we'll have to know exactly what Keir knew and what all the advisors knew. So I think time will tell. But I think that we can say definitely he's been poorly advised. So we do need a real change there. And I think that's what Labour MPs really want. We want a fresh new start around this and get on with the day-to-day, things of actually improving the country, which is really what we've all been here for. And I'm really, particularly as a GP, wanting to improve the NHS. And we're being prevented from doing this by this type of procedure and gossip.
Could you have a fresh new start with another leader? I mean, is there anyone that you think could take over in the event that Sir Keir decides to step down?
Yeah, there are leaders around. I don't think this is a question at the moment of leadership, to be honest. I think this is a question of getting number 10 properly functioning, actually. And I think if we can do that, I think Labour MPs will be much happier with that. I think Keir is delivering on many manifesto things. He's not great at communicating, but I do think that at the moment it's not a question of changing leadership. But we'll need to see what happens with the investigation.